Are we live? We're good? We're on? Okay. Welcome back to the channel. We got to do a little talking about sweet, sweet Methany White. Sorry, Stephanie White, head coach. Well deserved of the Indiana Fever and her approach to coaching Caitlin Clark. But of course, we are going to lead into some of the things Stephanie says because this is about defense. We're going to use this opportunity to dispel a few myths, shall we say, when it comes to Caitlin Clark and her defense. Thank you for being here. Truly appreciate all your support. Hope you all having a fantastic day. Shout out, of course, to the 19 as we head into making the 19,000 strong. I got to tell you, 3,000 away from that sounds like a lot. Okay. Let me just say it sounds like a lot, but we may get there, man. We may get there. We are small but mighty. We keep chugging along. So, anyway, I just want to go through a couple of things with Caitlin Clark with regard to her defense, because obviously we have seen with the absolute incompetence of Stephanie White as a coach, period, including defense, which we keep being told she's known for. And I have countered with that with saying Stephanie White seemed like a good defensive coach when she was allowed, or her players were allowed, to basically play rugby, right? I mean, she had Alyssa Thomas, and we all know what Alyssa Thomas is like. So, but in terms of schemes and strategy and rotate, like the whole thing, she's just not there, and we can see that with how often Caitlin Clark gets ISO'd with zero help. We know the whistle against her is absolutely insane, and we know Stephanie White will never ever challenge a call for Caitlin Clark, or yeah, a call for Caitlin, or a call against Caitlin Clark, maybe is a more accurate way of putting it. Despite Caitlin Clark constantly begging because of all the fouls that get called against her when she literally doesn't touch a soul. Not that many WNBA players have souls, but oh, okay. So let's dig in. Right, she's amazing. Caitlin Clark is locking up on defense tonight. I'm confused since ESPN told me she was a terrible defender. Now I'm wondering, why are they lying to us? Yeah, they do that a lot. Caitlin Clark. Now look, before we even show this, because I've said this a million times, when you have an offensive talent like Caitlin Clark, and don't, like, I'm not excuse this is not an excuse for defense. I'm just giving you the reality of the situation, especially someone who has the ball. Like, she is responsible for everything when it comes to the Indiana Fever offense, right? Everything is on her shoulders. And when they look absolutely terrible, it's when Stephanie White takes that away from her. That takes a lot of energy, all physically and mentally. So, yeah, at times, when possible, she's probably going to ease up a little bit on defense. Doesn't mean she's not going to try, but she's going to try and put herself in a situation where she doesn't have to exert as much energy. And a lot of that is going to have to be with the coaching. And that is a huge problem because we're not getting that. By the way, stay tuned for later, because I'm going to give you a quick example using Steph Curry of how things should be done that Stephanie White is incapable of doing, or maybe she just doesn't want to because she's perfectly happy for Caitlin Clark to wear herself out defensively and to get fouls called on her so Stephanie White can play her less. She's playing a lot fewer minutes than she did in 2024. I believe she's seventh in the league in scoring, and she is, every player ahead of her plays more minutes than she does. I think she played like 35 a game in 2024. She's playing about 30, 31 right now. Before people get crazy, Wilt Chamberlain basically averaged an entire game throughout his 14-year career. Okay. So, and travel was not nearly as easy back in the day. In fact, Wilt Chamberlain actually averaged more minutes per game than a full game one season because of the games that had overtime. The guy basically didn't come out of a game for an entire season. But anyway, let's take a look at this. Also got it off the knee, y'all. Also got it off the knee. I'm just saying. So here we go, the full thing. Hopefully y'all can see this, because you know how the YouTube gets crazy with me sometimes. And boom, and yep, other way. We're going to take that the other way. Very, very solid defense. But let's go with another example. Let's see if we can check this out as well. And here she is being ISO'd with zero help in the open court. Good footwork. I still can see some things I would change with her. Yeah, gets the block as well. You can see she's pumped about that. Dude, there's the island. She is on an island working really hard. By the way, you don't want her working that hard, but she does a great job keeping the offensive player in front of her, gets off her feet. I mean, that's not a bad, like, this isn't bad offense, right? That was a nice little pump fake. It was one of those. I know that feeling. Hey, if you all have ever played, you know that too, right? Where you realize as you're going up, you're buying a pump fake and you try and lessen your jump, right? You don't want to be off the floor for very long, as little as possible. So your hope, fingers crossed, that you can recover on it. And that's what you saw from Caitlin Clark there. She didn't buy it fully, sort of adjusted. It was like as she's going up, she's like, nope, nope, not going to let gravity's going to do its work, but I'm not giving it any more help after that. Now, check this out. And I've said this many times, especially a lot of advanced statistics and analytics. And you were talking to someone, by the way, real quick. I hate to digress, but hopefully some of you find this all interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard of Bill James. Bill James is basically the father, and some of y'all might hate him because his stuff has been adopted widely, analytics, right? And some people think it's ruining some sports, but he is the father of that. And it was with baseball. And by the way, he was shunned, blackballed. You know, back when it was an actual very, very difficult thing to do, he independently published something called the Baseball Abstract for a while, put out a new one every single year. This was a man who was creating news. Like, this is Bill James was a genius. Whether you agree with the analytics or not, Bill James was a genius, and he would create entirely new categories of statistics and diving in what and he did it with baseball, obviously. What makes a team win? What makes a valuable player? He was creating win-loss records for field players. And like, oh, I could go on for hours about Bill James because I, as a kid, was buying it every year and devouring it because I loved that stuff. That being said, each statistic has its positives and negatives, and it's not a be all end all. And there are, of course, context and all that, but just as some that are used a little bit, just to give you an idea, this is that for the Indiana Fever defensive rating, an estimate of points allowed per 100 possessions. Aaliyah Boston, 99. Monique Billings, Amisha Hines Allen, 102, followed by Demiris Dantas and Caitlin Clark at 104. So, right, there's four of them right there together at 102 to 104. Aaliyah Boston has a little bit of advantage. Caitlin Clark, in terms of defensive rating, points given up, despite all the ISO that she faces per 100 possessions, she is one of the best players on the team. So let's look at the other individual one that we get, right? How about defensive win share? An estimate of the number of wins contributed by a player due to defense. Hey, look at that. Caitlin Clark is second on the team in defensive win share. Aaliyah Boston 0.6, then Caitlin Clark 0.5. I'm just saying, something to consider when everyone is talking about how bad Caitlin Clark is on defense, right? And then we have this same thing. Shout out to Mark Lucaverse. Congrats, by the way, on the 1,000 followers. I told him I was going to call my New Jersey friends in waste management if he catches me in followers. But, anyway, Caitlin, 0.44 defensive impact, another advanced analytics, 75th percentile. Paige at minus 0.31 for defensive impact, has her all the way down in the 53rd percentile. Now, I'm leading all that up to listening to Stephanie White, Mystics game, right? The one where Caitlin Clark hit the 30-foot three-pointer at the end to win the game after they had blown a big lead. She sat out most of the entire second quarter. Anyway, she picked up her third foul, and I think I'll show the foul first before we listen to Stephanie White, because Stephanie White's comment is really in reaction to this foul. Now, this is transition, by the way. So you have Caitlin Clark chasing it down, a little bit of pressure. She realizes where she is. She's going to let it go. And Sonia Citron, for whatever reason, takes a really awkward layup and misses it. And yet they called, by the way, you can see, now I get it. A lot of times some officials wait to see if the ball went in just so they make sure they know it, so they can decide if it's a, and one or not. They hesitate to wait before they make the call. So it may very well have been that, but a lot of people are like, well, he didn't call it until it missed. Or were they going to call it if it went in? calls a foul on Caitlin Clark. And of course, Caitlin Clark is furious, as she should be, because in no universe do you call that, especially when we all know Caitlin Clark gets mugged every time she has the basketball and it never gets called. And you can see she's upset. Misha Hines out. Bless her. I tell you what, seriously, like this is how quickly it is, and this is for all those people that like to scream and everything about Caitlin Clark fans. This is a player right here has been fully embraced by Caitlin Clark fans. They absolutely love her. I'm one of those. Every time I hear her speak, I find her more and more endearing. I love the way that she plays the game. And here she is. She's like, "Oh, that's on me. That's on me. Call that on me. I'll take that foul. That's a teammate, yo. They know what they're doing." And Sophie's like, "Yeah, her. Give her the foul." Sophie's like, "I don't want it, but give it to her." And then I think Caitlin's like, challenges, please challenges. This is my third foul. There's no foul here, folks. There is no foul here at all. Caitlin Clark once again begging her coach for the challenge, and she doesn't get it. So what does Stephanie White say not long after that at halftime? Well, let's take a listen to Meth herself.
Decisions. I know the fouls are frustrating. What are you going to tell your group just to adjust to that this next half, but not lose the physicality?
We got to be disciplined. We got to be more disciplined. I mean, we're fouling when it's unnecessary because we're in poor position to start.
Coach, thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Zora.
F you absolute of a clown. Oh man, I'm gonna say calm because I know it's already kind of been a long video. I'm not gonna go off on a tangent on Stephanie White, but there you go. I mean, to say this lady is a good coach, to say that she supports or likes Caitlin Clark or has Caitlin Clark back, it flies in the face of all of the evidence, and it's basically is a lie, and it has me question who you are as a human being if you are going to defend Stephanie White in any way, shape, or form. If you were going to tell me she's a good coach in any way, shape, or form, because the evidence says no. And it is overwhelming. It meets the standard beyond a reasonable doubt. Stephanie White does not like Caitlin Clark. She is not a fan, and she is a terrible, terrible coach. Caitlin Clark is a much better defender than a lot of it. Again, it's another narrative. They just keep putting it out there, keep putting it out there. But the truth is, Caitlin Clark is an above average defender. But I want to finish with one more thing that I think y'all might want to take a look at. Let me make sure I have the right one. I think this is it. This is Steph Curry being ISO'd, and I think this is for a game-winning shot against, if I'm not mistaken. But pay attention to what happens. Right, boom. Okay, we're get rid of that player. Not gonna have them help. Steph White on an island. By the way, kind of where we saw Caitlin Clark in that great defensive play. Check this out. Yeah, you're not going anywhere. No. You're not going to go anywhere because the system says we're not going to allow it. Great job also by Steph Curry getting over there and getting a hand, and the shot is missed. This, folks, is great team defense. This, folks, is what we keep hearing that Stephanie White is as a defensive coach, even though we are not seeing it. There is no match between words and actions. Curry does a good job out there. He and here's the other thing too. You watch the way he plays. Like a lot of people, if you just look at that in isolation, Steph Curry got beat bad, you think, right? Steph Curry is overplaying, forcing the player that way because he knows that's where his help is. And he understands, if you saw how quickly he adjusted, again, this goes back to the players knowing the system and being able to execute without thinking about it. He knows where his teammate help is, and he knows where that teammate is coming from, and he quickly switches up and goes and gets a hand in the face. Look at that. As soon as that's thrown, Steph Curry is sprinting over there. He's like, I'm going to get a hand. I'm going to get a hand. I'm going to help you out. You help me out. My job now is to help you out. So we don't see any of that from the Indiana Fever and Stephanie White. Zero, zip, zilch, nada, nil as we start the World Cup today. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. I'll talk to you later.